Hello and welcome to the Josh and Tyler Show. Today we're reviewing a doubleheader from Logan Marshall Green. Did I get the name right?
That is correct. There's a hyphen in there somewhere. I could just never
I
figure it
think it's on the
out.
last name. But anyway, how are you,
Yeah.
Tyler? How's life treating you?
Oh, I'm doing all right. Fucking busy as hell. And now the patios are opening Friday. It'll get even busier for me. Yay.
You know what's great when things open Friday? I can go buy a pair of pants that I so desperately need.
Yeah, that part would be great.
That's what I'm looking forward to. I want to go buy pants and socks. I know it sounds dumb, but that's what I'm gonna do.
It helps to know they're actually the pair for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Why the store couldn't have touch these but didn't buy them? Put this in the bin. Like, seriously. That's all you have to fucking do.
Some clothing stores are doing that. I know where I go to buy pants and I know where I go to buy socks, and I'm excited to have clothes that fit me. I'm so excited. But we did a doubleheader, and it was you never pick boring movies, Tyler. You always pick something very interesting that is very thought-provoking.
You just said it before we started rolling that you were bored by one of these, though.
Yes, but until the end. But like, you didn't pick like a generic blockbuster is what I'm saying, because I've seen a lot of generic.
Okay.
And I appreciate that we don't have to review blockbusters on this show because I've seen so many of them. I did enjoy Raya and the Last Dragon, and I think it's really cute, but I don't see myself revisiting it. So
I got to be honest, the trailers for that are doing nothing for me. If anything, I'm more excited to check out Luca because, for one, it looks fucking beautiful. Like, it looks incredibly vibrant and colorful. Italy looks exactly the way it did in Call Me By Your Name. In fact, the characters look like they kind of have a Call Me By Your Name thing, except they're kids and it seems like a platonic friendship only. So
Call Me By Your Name was one of the most beautiful photographed movies I think I've ever seen. It's gorgeous.
It does look very nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Luca looks pretty cute. I mean, I watch animated movies to try to keep up because the wife likes to sit and watch a variety of films. So we're not just sitting watching horror or drama. We switch it up with different TV shows or mysteries or so, I'm because Ray and the Last Dragon for me, it was a cute movie. It was exactly what you expected. There's no surprises in this whatsoever. Awkwafina is very charming. Kelly Marie Tran is great in the voice acting role. The rest of the cast is funny and quirky, and they have some fun moments and such. And it's exactly what you expected. And I don't know why kids' movies can't subvert expectations, but they don't. So,
I mean,
it's cute,
Inside Out, Soul,
love
Wolfwalkers, those had some surprises to them.
Yeah, but there's a generation of kids that are going to grow up with Ray and the Last Dragon, think it's the greatest thing ever. And good for them because it's beautiful, it's fun, it's quirky, it's just so predictable. I'm good. I don't like
Lord knows Robin Hood subverts expectations.
Oh, it has never subverted expectations, and that's why I only show people the 1939 one, because it's the only Robin Hood really worth watching.
Then why do you love the 73 one so much then?
I like because that was my childhood. I grew up with that. Feel full nostalgia.
All right.
It's a nostalgia trip. I mean, if I'm looking at it, no Robin Hood is a good movie except for maybe the 39 one. Everything
Men in Tights is good.
Men in Tights is a comedy though. I wouldn't really consider that a Robin Hood movie.
You get what I mean.
So today we reviewed two movies. We watched them. We both have very different opinions on them, so this should be exciting because it's always better when we have different opinions. And I'll tell you this: I have no rant today. I'm still processing them. So, because Logan,
I'll be thinking about this first one for a little while now, just based on everything that happens.
Logan Marshall Green picks very artsy films, and artsy films make you think, and you don't know if you like them or not.
There's that to it. I mean, he's done a few blockbusters. He did that M. Night Shyamalan film Devil, where he's trapped in an elevator with a few other people. He did not that many people realize it, but he was actually one of the scientists in Prometheus, I think.
I haven't seen Prometheus since it came out. It honestly didn't do that much for me.
It did a fair bit for me.
Oh, good. Like, I didn't dislike it. I was like, okay.
Yeah, that's totally fair.
That was my entire thought process.
It would
So the
seem like
first one
Ridley
we're gonna.
Scott's one of the few people who can make challenging movies. He just doesn't do it very often.
I enjoyed Ridley Scott's Robin Hood from 2010 strictly because it had a
I
different
know.
take on it. Um, it it was a little dull during the middle, but I still like that it was different. It was the most different Robin Hood movie I've ever seen, so that's why I liked it. So the invitations from 2015. This stars Logan Marshall Green among a huge bevy of cast. Tyler, what are your first impressions on this film?
Okay, so for those who don't know, we're going to give very brief details about the plot because the less you know going into this, the better, at least
Mm-hmm.
for me, anyways. It was what I kept hearing from everyone who had seen it. The invitation is about a guy named Will who brings his girlfriend to a dinner party that's being hosted by his ex wife and new husband. They've recently spent 2 years in solitude in some country and they've come back with basically,
Mexico.
yeah, with basically this almost 12-step like program to help other people with grief. So they've invited a lot of friends and family. And one of the guys who basically influenced them to go through this. But after a series of very strange events and dinner conversations, our main character, Will, starts to become paranoid that the ex wife in particular is hiding something incredibly fucked up. And
Mm-hmm.
I think we both agree that the pacing can really play with people a lot because as I was watching it for the first hour, this was a 3.5 out of 5 for me, just based on the fact that it wasn't really a horror movie. It was a very unsettling human drama that did raise a serious amount of questions
A
surrounding
lot of
grief,
questions.
but and then it was until the last 20 minutes happened where things really started to get fucked up. And it's not that I didn't see it coming because it replicates real life events that if you study them in high school, they're not going to surprise you. They're going to see it coming, but they're still going to get to you. You're still going to dread them because of the amount of anticipation that it brings. And it's really about the great lengths that our eventual villains go through to fulfill their destiny that makes everything that happens in the finale so exhilarating to me. It's interesting. It's a horror movie there where even when my heart isn't
I wouldn't call
racing,
it a horror movie. I'd say more of a thriller, a
you
drama.
think so?
I don't think. I think it has horror elements to at points in the film. But I think you could find the same sort of things that he sees um, in thrillers or dramas as well to show trauma. So I would say this is a thriller more than anything. I just don't think it's horror. If it was horror, there would be, that over the top music and it'd be suspenseful. I don't think this is a horror film.
I don't know. Like I saw an interview with Karin Kusama from I think it was the same people that distributed her movie. It had something to do with Alamo Drafthouse because Drafthouse Films were the people that produced the film, gave her a really tight budget that she only had a few weeks to accomplish, but she didn't enjoy the fact that she had creative control because if you look at her filmography with Eon Flux and Jennifer's Body, you know that she's gotten pushed around a lot more than she deserves because she is a really talented filmmaker and it really goes down to the executives that hired her just not trusting the audience to understand what she's going for. And I love the fact that she has this opportunity to do so. But the interviewer said in a very positive way that for him, it really transcended different genres in a way that really played with your expectations and also really grabbed your attention. Even though there were scenes that weren't necessarily scary, they were still investing and intense because I really love the way that this movie examines grief. How long does it take to go through the grieving process and does the pain ever leave you? If one scenario works best for you, is it going to work for other people when you try to help them out with their own problems? How honest should you be about the pain that you've experienced in the past and how honest should you be towards others when you think that they're in denial? There are no simple answers, and some of the answers that Kusama and her writers come up with, I don't necessarily agree with, but that is kind of the point. And I'm not kidding when I say this. The guys who wrote this were two of the four writers of Ride Along.
Ride Along, I actually quite enjoyed. I thought it was really.
Eh.
It was a fun, stupid movie. You put it on, you drink a glass of wine, have some pizza with your wife. It's a good time. That's my thought.
It's just you
I
don't associate
Oh yeah.
god awful stupid comedy with fleshed out human drama. But then again, Ride Along's a studio movie. When the hell do writers ever have control of the script when
Not
it's
really.
a studio movie?
I
It's
will
just little
say
stuff like
that
that.
this movie, I think the setup, I think that the first 20 minutes of this was quite interesting. I appreciated the road and the journey they took to get there. Um, I think it was interesting to see the sort of foretelling of the events while they were on the road and what he had to do to get there, so to speak, because we're doing non-spoilers, right?
Yeah, and
Okay.
that scene definitely was an eye opener for sure.
And I think it was interesting for the first little bit at the party where we get to see all the people interact and we get to see all the characters and how they know each other. And I think there was this mentality that's set up later in the film where they all hug and they're all friends and they haven't seen each other in a while. And that mentality does play later into the film. And I like that aspect of it. When he offers them a very expensive beverage, I just think at that point, that's when the movie started to lose me a little bit. Cause I'm like, well, now they're just going to have private conversations or walk around or be alone or experience different feelings. And I think that these conversations could either be amazingly hit or amazingly miss. Um, so for me, most of them were miss. I think what's his name? The guy who's usually in comedies. He plays the bald guy. John Carroll
Oh,
Lynch's character.
well,
I
see, here's
think
the thing.
he
He
was the
does
most.
comedies because I know him from the Drew Carey show. He was the cross-dressing older brother. I know him from Fargo, but Kusama hired him because he usually plays a heavy in most stuff.
Yeah,
Because I
gangster.
mean, he was the prime suspect in Zodiac. He has this show where he's a sheriff with an incredibly dark secret or something like that. He has a very menacing physique.
But I was very enthralled by any scenes that he was in. I think his scenes were particularly interesting. I think he brought a high level of acting to the film, and specifically during the one game they play where he talks about what I want. I think that was the most engaging film of the scene. That's when I got back on board because there was just a lot of stuff happening between there. I think the character being suspicious while he's talking about the way they handle their household and the way they do things and such. Um, I think that part was semi interesting, but I didn't love Logan Marshall's Green's low key look at me I'm mellow performance. I understand what they were going for. They were going for that grief aspect, which if you see the film you understand. And I understand that they were going for that, and that I just don't think it would have been completely that way. I think he would have said a bit more.
I don't know. I
But
would
there were
have
a lot of characters to speak, so I
I don't know.
get that they didn't have him speak.
I can't speak for everybody, but I would have acted the exact same way. I wouldn't have flat out said that I was disappointed, but I wouldn't exactly make an effort to hide it just because the subjects that they're talking about are not things that you tread lightly. They're not stuff that you just smile and go, "Oh, well, that's in the past," but all the characters are doing it because they're trying to show that they've made a ton
Yeah.
of progress. And that's really where the conflict between Logan Marshall and his ex-wife are. And I got to say, Tammy Blanchard was unsettling to look at. Even though she was gorgeous, she has the most elegant hair and clothes. She has this almost soap opera villain
Yeah,
expression where
that's a
she's
good way to put
over the
it.
top, but she's always whispering her lines. It reminded me of this Billy Bob show Goliath, where all the main characters talk like normal human beings, but the villains are dialed up to 11. And even though it's incredibly over the top and obvious, you already know from the beginning that they're the villains. So they don't try to fool you on something that you already know. Instead, they have fun with it. And that was the overall impression that I got from that. And you're absolutely right about John Carroll Lynch. He was definitely
He's fantastic.
unsettling. I felt like he could have had a few more scenes personally, but at the same time, his "I want" monologue revealing stuff that
Yeah, that was very
at the
good.
beginning you'd swear he was making it up just to fuck with people
Yeah.
because those are not facts that you just bluntly reveal. But again, he feels as if he's made the exact same progress as the husband and wife hosting the dinner party. So he feels as if he's had nothing to lose because it's all in the past. And that's the kind of differing philosophies and grief that makes the film very intense and unsettling. And once things really clash, once we reveal what's going on. And I gotta say, Karan Kurosama's direction always maintains suspense for me. It started off with your very basic shot reverse shot techniques that were a little underwhelming, but once things start to really unravel, she starts to craft so many different shots that are in deep focus where characters are visible in the foreground and the background. You're constantly looking back and forth, paying attention to the most minute details, and you start to feel the paranoia that our main character is going through. And I did like his performance. I did like how subdued it was. And the flashbacks make it clear that he wasn't always that way when he had a steady, normal life and people who loved him. And I also like that the flashbacks were actually segued into nicely because they used match cuts to kind of match up with what was going on in the scene. I felt that they could have been less hazy with the imagery. I know they're trying to say like it's in the past, so it's fragmented, but the presentation of the flashbacks were a little silly and they kind of hide certain key moments that tell you what exactly happened between the husband and wife. But at the same time, you know the backstory without it being spoon fed. You know that it technically wasn't really anybody's fault, but there was still this sense that something could have been done. And it makes him question whether or not, even though he's received so much support from his girlfriend, if it's really helped him deal with the pain or if that pain is ever going to leave him. And as a main character, especially in a thriller, that was something I could really identify with because even though life has pain and suffering and is always going to have it, he's still willing to ride it out for the better good. And especially by staying in the fucking house, because that interview that I told you about, the interviewer starts off with, he could have left the house at any point in time, couldn't he? And she goes, yeah, he absolutely could. And I just sat there and I went, really? With the bars on the windows and the doors that are locked, are we really sure that he could have gotten out there while we still could? So there's a little bit of that, but at the same time, she makes it very clear that he stays in the house out of politeness and respect, and again, willing to ride out the pain of being in the same house of his ex-wife, who clearly has not gotten over what happened, just as a sign of respect and willingness to help out anybody else. So for her, it was really more of a consequence of being too polite as a reason for why everyone was still in the house, except for that one person who left. Because, yeah, believe it or not, somebody else does
leave. That is a smart person.
But it's implied.
Smartest person in the movie.
But it is implied that she still gets killed because the one guy disappears to talk to her before she drives away. And then the main character, who has been spying on the conversation the entire time because he wants to make sure that he gets out for good, he gets distracted, he gets taken away by it. And we don't know in the end if she actually did get away. So for me, there are clues that even if they tried to leave early or in the middle of it, I don't think it would have worked.
So yeah, then so I think there's too many characters in this movie. I think there's a lot.
Yeah, there are.
I enjoy Logan Marshall Green as our main character and his wife, his girlfriend Kira. I think that Tammy Blanchard is weird and odd and somehow suits this movie. Playing Eden. Gina, I could honestly do without. I really don't know what she's doing there. She just exists to be drunk.
See, here's the thing. I didn't like the first 20 minutes just because here's the thing. None of the actors do bad with what they're given. It's what they're given is really bland and really desperate when it comes to comic relief. Other than two guys who very subtly embrace each other to let us know that they're a couple, which that part I was totally fine with, and they don't dwell on it
They don't really do much. They just sort of exist.
Yeah, exactly. That was my big problem, especially with the girlfriend. I was really looking forward to seeing the girlfriend play off of the ex-wife because seriously, a girlfriend in the house of an ex-wife, that is just begging for unsettling human drama and some really horrific moments, but they don't really do anything with it. And the actress, I'm going to say her name, Imayatsi Corinaldi, is really good in the film, but she disappears in the background far too often. And she's supposed to be the moral support for the main character. She's supposed to be the one who is really supposed to ride out the journey with him. But I didn't feel like, here's the thing. I could understand why some of the characters bought into the very fucked up conversations about how willing someone's going to go in order to deal with the pain. I understand that they would just go like, okay, so I don't understand it. That doesn't mean they don't have a right to see it that way. I just sat there. I'm like, it's fucked up, but I get why you're accepting all of this. I can't understand why she bought into this at all. So
I mean, I really would have liked to see more conversations between the ex-husband and the ex-wife. I think that would have made for some very interesting conversations. They got to speak once briefly, but they never really got to speak. I felt
like that was.
And then because I think you have to bring some sort of conflict, and I don't feel there is any conflict during this, except that he doesn't like that everyone's getting along for a while when everything's clearly wrong. like I just don't see the conflict. I'm glad they didn't go for the full soap opera, but I would have liked to see like a little bit more conflict in the middle.
I don't know. I just like the fact that she's speaking towards everybody, but the camera is zooming in on him just listening. For me, that was really all you needed in order to establish what really went wrong with the relationship.
I mean, the dining room scene was, I think that was probably my favorite scene in the film, where they're
When
sitting
he
around the
like
table having
completely
dinner
bursts out.
and he starts
Yeah.
to remember some things. I thought that was very, very well done. The way they use the sound and the editing and the camera. I thought that was very well done. But for me, none of these characters really, really mattered except for like the main four. And it could have just been the main four in the house, straight up. You
Oh
could
yeah,
have
it
just
absolutely
had
would.
Will, Eden, Kira, and David, right? David, yeah. You could have just had the four of them in the house, and I think that would have made for a more
Well,
interesting
don't
film.
forget Pruitt, because I mean the movie wouldn't have
True.
happened without him. The
And I guess
crazy
there's
lady
that
from
crazy
the
girl
crazy lady from
who loves
Mexico.
everybody and wants to fuck them all. I don't know what her deal is. Like, is
Yeah,
she just
that
there?
made
Is she?
zero
And then
sense.
later on in the finale, like, I don't get her deal either. I don't know what she's doing there.
See, I was fine with her being the heavy because she brought on the suspense and the level of tension. And I will say this, the girlfriend really gets to shine in the finale because she
Yes,
gets to experience the exact pain that Will went through. And I gotta say, when John Carroll Lynch started screaming, oh my god, John Carroll Lynch really knows how to
he was great in the
physically
film.
detail pain.
Yeah, I mean he's good in the film. But yeah, the middle of the film, I'm like, okay, I had to watch this in three parts because it didn't grab me right away. This is a slow burn. I don't
Yeah,
like slow burns. I hate slow burns. Make something actually happen. You have to show something to accelerate the audience along, or they're gonna go. You have to show something.
yeah, but like, how quickly could you show this information? I didn't feel like you could just breeze by some of these things.
Yeah, you could have skipped past about 20 minutes of the party and maybe had something else suspicious happen. So you have 5 or 6 suspicious events along the way to move along the pacing. You can't just show nothing for so long.
As
Um,
opposed to him realizing that his ex-wife is taking pills, that they're putting on some kind of visual symbol towards other people in other neighborhoods, because there was that whole ending shot where it turns out there was a
this
lot
is
more
happening
than
everywhere.
one
Yeah.
house.
Yeah, and I
Yeah, and it
think
ties into the real life events too, which I gotta say, like when they played the video and that one guy had the bald head, I'm just like, okay, I know exactly who this guy is supposed to represent. I didn't think that they would go all the way and show like the verbatim events in real life because, I felt like some people would get pissed off by that. I'm surprised people haven't been pissed off by it because, I mean, long story short, without spoiling anything, it doesn't technically recreate the entire event, but
it's
yeah.
similar to something that was said in the film. Yeah, I just don't know why they couldn't accelerate the pacing, make it a sharp 120 and really pack it in there. If you're going to do a thriller, and unless you're Hitchcock, and even if you're Hitchcock, you better keep the audience interested. And there's a
I
lot of
was
Hitchcock
interested.
movies that don't keep you interested because he doesn't have the right pacing. For me, as a director, and when I write things, pacing is always key. Sometimes my scripts come out short, and I don't want to add stuff because the pacing is perfect. Pacing is the key. I just feel like
I don't
a
know.
lot.
For me, pacing isn't really something that you can predict. I mean, what exactly do you do to make sure that this is going by quickly? Because on paper, and then when you do it like physically on set, it's not going to translate out the exact same.
Well, what you do in a similar case like this is I would have long shots for the beginning of the film. Long shots. Everything is in a long shot. And every time we hit 5 minutes, the shots get shorter and shorter and shorter. So everything feels like it's getting increasingly faster. I think
I
that would
can't
be a
see
really
like
good
that
technique.
I can't see like that would have worked in here because for me, it mattered more that you get more time to soak in the dread and the amount of suspense that our main character is going through. Because since he's going to his ex wife's house, he's inherently going to be suspicious of anything that he says. And it would also tie into whether or not he's just being delusional about what other people are going through, considering everyone else is just not immediately accepting it, but tolerating it because they have that what the fuck, why do you show us these exact clips of real life scenarios? How is this supposed to correlate to us? But they're willing to at least respectfully disagree. Meanwhile, he would immediately disregard everything that he says. I can't see that something you just breeze by so quickly. You just got to soak it in a lot more.
Like movies where you have to soak it in. I want something to happen. I
Well,
want
then you wouldn't like The Empty Man. In fact, I'm starting to wonder if recommending that to you might have been a mistake.
I just feel like there's a lot of nothing in this movie. When he does something, it's fine. There's a lot of nothing with the side characters. There's too much happening. Keep it simple. Keep it to
Like
the
I
characters.
said, the side characters were a waste of
time. And they took me completely out of the movie because I'm trying to figure out who they are and what they do. And I'm like, oh, well, there's those guys. And then there's this person who just wants to. I'm like, these characters don't matter. If you're going to make a movie, strip the fat. Strip the fat.
Yeah, I agree.
Straight up.
It's just,
I just would like, I think what works so well for one house dramas. And if you're going to do a one room drama, every character has to matter. In 12 Angry Men, everyone does matter because there's 12 jurors. In Malcolm and Marie, the two people having the conversation. So if you added anyone else, that movie loses what it has to offer. You need to keep it simple and you need to keep it tight. You could have cut it down to 6 characters. And I do want to talk about the one scene where they're like, hey, let's show this video here. And I won't say what's in the video, but why would you like if I'm trying to achieve what I'm trying to achieve in this film, if I'm trying to commit my goal because someone told me to do that thing, I ain't gonna show them no video. I'm gonna show them a good time and get them as drunk as possible, and then it works out better, like don't show them the video. Like,
well, here's one thing. Do we ever see them actually pour the wine? Because I don't think I ever saw anyone do that in the entire sequence except for the finale. So yeah, there's a good possibility they might already have been.
I'm just like, ugh. I knew for a while that you shouldn't do what the hosts are suggesting. I just think there's a lot of if you're trying to achieve this, there are better ways to do this. But I guess logic doesn't prevail if you're part of one of these organizations.
Well, here's the thing. There are far, far worse things that they could have shown. In fact, when you get down to it, there's nothing necessarily illegal or really that god awful about what they're showing. It's just so uneasy. And because of the subject that our ex-wife and ex-husband already experienced, it was going to trigger people either way. But considering the people in the video gave full consent to the people making it, there is that about it. And see what I'm doing? I'm like piecing together why anyone would justify this like the other dinner guests.
Yeah, that's what you're trying to do. I know they're trying to put you in the shoes of the dinner guests, and I don't want to be in the shoes of the dinner guests. I want to watch a movie. I don't want to feel the characters' feelings on this one here. I don't like dinner parties. They make me anxious. I hate parties more than 8 people. They're the worst. Then you have to talk to everyone and you don't know what to say. And they're like, what do you do? I talk to 3 people at a dinner party and then ignore everyone else.
Okay, well then I'm not inviting you to any of my post-COVID parties.
I like 3 or 4 people. That's my level of people. I don't want more than that.
But if there are 8 people that you like and you can go back and forth, why am I even having this conversation with you if I'm not even going to change your mind on any of this?
I just don't like parties. They make me nervous, okay?
Yeah, they make me nervous. That's why I keep going so that I don't have to be nervous.
Oh, I get more nervous every time I go to more parties.
It's also why I go to heavy metal concerts, because weirdly enough, there is some heavy metal music I like. Well, and plus, there's a good possibility I might enjoy something that I never would have guessed before.
Here's the thing about dinner parties that this movie nails. This movie nails the awkwardness of dinner parties where people don't know each other, straight up.
Yeah, and that was part of the tension.
It made me uncomfortable because I don't like that.
Okay, well then this movie inherently wasn't made for you, I'm guessing.
No, it was well photographed. I do want to talk about the cinematography because the cinematography is great. I like what they do with the camera. I think it's very well photographed with the light. It's all matched and color corrected beautifully. The sound is 100% on point. Like the technical team is incredible behind this. But I will go back to that. I would rather be at a concert full of 1,000 people and I know no one than be in a room with 20 people I know. Because I
can't do that.
That's more anxious for me. Because the best part is not being known. If no one knows who I am or no one cares, I can do my thing. But when there's 20 people I know around me, I'm self-conscious.
I'm learning a lot about you that I never have in this one video.
This movie made me uncomfortable, and I was not cool with it.
Okay, well, you were supposed to feel uncomfortable, so congratulations.
Yeah, and I have severe anxiety, and it made it worse. It's not
Hey,
cool.
I believe in exposure to anxiety in order to get rid of it. I'm not saying it works in everything I do,
Not
but
with
Lord
this.
knows I keep trying anyways.
I would rather be exposed to different things. I just wish it would move a bit faster. That's all I want. Just
Hey,
speed it up
trust
by
me, there
like
were
5
parts where
minutes.
I wish that it would too. And I'm kind of wondering if upon rewatch, I'm even going to notice this because I've only seen it once. And honestly, I'm still thinking about it.
Like there are slow burn thrillers that I enjoy. I like a lot of Hitchcock. I think Psycho is a very good slow burn thriller.
Here's the other thing. You said Dragged Across Concrete was a really good film. That's
Yes.
like 2 hours and 40 minutes of slow burn.
Yes, but the violence makes up for the slowness.
Yeah, when it's there, which
Yeah.
isn't even really as
And
often as people
I
make it
really
out to
appreciate
be.
Vince Vaughn. I'm a huge Vince Vaughn guy.
Yeah, and it's also them incredibly subdued and not really expressing all that much. Weirdly enough, because they're actors who are willing to
But
be
I did enjoy
incredibly
Cell
subdued.
Block 99 quite a bit. As much as I never want to watch that movie again, I really did enjoy it.
What does that have to do with the slowness of
Got
dragging
Vince
them?
Vaughn. I like Vince Vaughn. I'll watch anything that man's in.
So what? It's
There
okay.
was
You're
no
really
connecting.
why
There's
are
no
you trailing
connecting
off on me
actors
on
in this. If I'm
this?
going to watch a slow burn movie, there needs to be an actor I connect with or I like. I don't know any of these people. I'm sure they're lovely people. I'm sure they're great actors. I just don't know their stuff and I'm not committed to their work.
But Kusama also said in that exact same interview, she also was really glad that the people were not A-list actors. I think the most famous people in it were John Carroll Lynch and
Mhm.
the bot and Khaleesi's bodyguard from Game of Thrones because he's the new husband. And you don't even recognize him because he
Oh,
plays
that's
around with his
him?
accent.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I
he's
did
got the
not
same
recognize him.
beard, he's got the same haircut and everything. But
I
she
want to be
said
able to
this
connect with some of the actors.
she said this, and James Badge Dale said this about Standoff at Sparrow Creek, how it's a little bit better to have B-level character actors that you recognize in TV shows, but you don't know their names, because as opposed to a Nicolas Cage movie where it's just like, oh, that's Nicolas Cage playing a character. In this movie, you really just see the characters.
Because
At least that was the impression I got.
because one film that I will watch, and I have watched it twice now, it's hard to get through because it's terrifying. I like Hereditary. I think it's a good slow burn. I really did
I
enjoy The
couldn't get
Witch.
into it.
I enjoyed The Witch. I think that was a really good slow burn, and I very much appreciated Nightcrawler. This just didn't do it for me for slow burns. It just
Yeah,
I couldn't do it.
fine. That's fair.
It just oh my goodness, and just like
I didn't think we were gonna go this long on it. I mean, shit.
hey, we talking about the movie. I mean, these are my thoughts on the movie. I mean, I'm glad I watched it. I will say that. I'm glad I've seen it. I'm glad that they made an indie movie on such a low budget. I have respect for all the work they did. The technical crew is amazing. It's just not made for me.
If it makes you feel any better, Josh, my one room thriller will have much less characters.
I mean,
It'll have
I really
like 3 or
like
4.
I like small character pieces. That's the biggest problem I have with I was watching Fast and Furious 4 or whatever, the Fast and Furious or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's
Watching
Fast and Furious.
I put it on TV. I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll watch this. Why not? And I was like, oh, there's Dom. I like Dom. I'm like, oh, there's Paul Walker. I'm like, oh, they killed off the one character. I like, okay, all right. Who are these dudes driving in a
You
car?
liked her?
I mean, she was the only other recognizable face. It was just a bunch of nobodies driving cars.
I mean, don't get me wrong.
Like,
She's still one of, if not the more interesting characters.
yeah, I mean, Letty was pretty cool. She has come back later with a weird.
She still
thing.
is.
And I'm just like, I realized that because I always thought that because like Fast 7 I really like, and Fast 8 was really fun, and I liked Fast 5 with the safe, and Fast 6 was really cool with the bridge sequence. And then I realized I'm like, yeah, Fast 1 through 4 are not they really don't know what they're doing.
They take themselves so seriously, and
Yeah.
I find it embarrassing that there are Fast and Furious fans. It's just like, go back to the street racing. That was at its core, and I'm like, are you high?
I mean, I like Tokyo Drift because I like the self-contained story and I like Han as a lead. But when revisiting that, which I did a few weeks ago, I realized that the main character has no charisma whatsoever. So
yeah, because he can't act worth crap.
But yeah, no, I think
Also, what did Bow Wow actually do?
I don't know. I don't know what a Bow Wow is.
Because I'm
is it a dog?
The black guy who doesn't drive, but he's like the in between guy or something like that. I don't know. They're bringing him and the dude with no charisma back for F9 or Fast 10 or something like that.
I mean, okay. I just my like I'm watching this movie and I'm like, where's Ludacris? Where's Tyrese Gibson? Where's The Rock? Where's all these people?
No Tyrese, no Luda.
I love Luda.
Okay, fine. Maybe like Luda for a couple scenes because he can actually tell a joke as opposed to Tyrese just trying desperately to be Will Smith.
Tyler, do you see what's in my background back there by those books? That's one of my 4 Ludacris vinyls. I love that man. I'm a big fan of Luda. But getting
Look,
back
other than
to
Shake Your Money Maker, and yeah, I don't know any Luda songs.
Get Back. I love that.
I don't know. Okay, so based on everything you said about The Invitation, maybe avoid Sparrow Creek because I think there's only one central character that really gets that much depth. I mean, it's about interrogating a militia. I don't know how much that's going to do for you based on how many characters.
Militia, I do like. Okay, who's in it? That's the question.
The closest thing to a celebrity is James Badge Dale. They also went for the higher actors who seem familiar but aren't so recognizable that it'll take you out of the movie. Plus, the movie was only made for $500,000. Sparrow Creek actually cost less to make than The Invitation, oddly enough.
Well, good for them.
And it's from the same studio that made Bone Tomahawk and Drag. So
I did like Bone Tomahawk a lot. Like so.
From what I understand, Sparrow Creek is like the least violent out of any of their movies.
Well,
so
see, I like the violence they have to offer, except for that one piece of violence in Bone Tomahawk that that was disgusting.
We're never going to get that out of our heads.
No, I can't unsee that. Yeah.
But from what I understand, it's more about like film noir shadow lighting and this idea where the dialogue makes it feel like a play, but the visual presentation is just, you can't do it on stage.
You got a review for that movie up, don't you?
No, but I still got to find time to watch it. And I've been proposing to this one guy who does Spotify podcasts to do like a collab on that particular movie.
Definitely.
Because I feel like it's something he would enjoy, but he hasn't gotten back to me on that.
We got to figure out how to get our podcast on Spotify. I don't know how that works.
I got to talk to, you know what? After we're done recording, I'll try and set you up with a guy here in Kitchener who actually does.
Marty was gonna give me a hand with that, so we'll see. I don't know. She hasn't got back to me. She's pretty busy. So, but yeah, I will say that this movie, I'll give it a 2 out of 5 for atmosphere. I just think there was a lot of nothingness, had some bad slow pacing, and could have used an identifiable face.
I disagree with a good chunk of that. I found it slow and occasionally frustrating. Like that part goes without saying. And most of that has to do with just how much time they spend on side characters you don't give a shit about. But here's the thing. The conflict between Logan Marshall Green and Tammy Blanchard, in my opinion, was good enough. I felt that the direction was top notch. Fyodor Shapiro's violin music, even though it's not in it a ton, is very eerie. And I just love that the buildup, as long as it is, leads to an incredibly good payoff. So I personally give it a 4 out of 5.
I will say that this director, what's her name again?
Karin Kusama.
Give her creative control of everything she does, because she at least knows what she wants to do, and take it all away from Zack Snyder.
She should not have to rely on a studio that only makes movies directed by women. I mean, it's great that exists, but
that's awesome.
That shouldn't have to be the only option. From what I understand, I want to check out her most recent movie, Destroyer, where Nicole Kidman is a detective who was undercover, but now takes revenge on the people she was undercover with. I'm really looking forward to checking that out on Crave.
Oh, that's a Crave movie. Okay. I remember the poster. I think we almost played it at the Princess.
That was like 3 years ago. And
2018?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just...
It's got her, it's got Sebastian Stan, Bradley Whitford, Toby Kebbell. I think Toby Kebbell's the villain because, well, it's Toby Kebbell. Why wouldn't he be?
Yeah, I think that she has definitely knows what she wants to do with the film, regardless of if we like it or not. She knows exactly what she wants to do, and that's good. And she made something that you could consider a pretty good film, as you do. And I just take all the creative control away from Zack Snyder, because that man has way too many ideas and doesn't know what to do with them. And let her have it and give her the millions of dollars, and let's see what she can do with it, because I think she's a better director than Zack Snyder.
I mean, don't forget, Snyder paved the way for Patty Jenkins in the DCEU. I mean, she did kind of copy his action style, in my opinion, anyways, but...
Well, she also copied his third act finales of giant CG monsters.
That is also true, but...
She was great in
Monster. she has Monster. So there's that.
Monster's phenomenal and terrifying.
Absolutely.
I hate that. Yeah. I hate and love that movie simultaneously. It's uncomfortable.
It's that gross, huh?
Charlize Theron she won the Oscar for that, right?
Yeah, in fact,
she
I
definitely deserved
swear,
that.
Nicole Kidman, with how aged her makeup and her hair looks, she kind of does look like Charlize Theron dressing up as Eileen Wuornos. It's kind of creepy.
Fair enough.
Except
So,
like
yeah.
black hair and more average, as opposed to looking like she doesn't brush or shower like Wuornos.
So our next film up here, did you give it you gave it a rating, right?
Yeah, I gave my rating. Yeah.
Perfect. We talked about so much, so
Yeah.
it's a
A
rambling
lot
day.
more than I thought we were going to.
It's a rambling day. Josh is rambling. Just go with it. The next film we have from starring Logan Marshall Green, directed by Leah Whannell. Did I do that right? I'm gonna
I
go
think
with
it's
that.
Lee Winnell or something
Lee
like
Winnell.
that.
Upgrade, a sci-fi. I'm gonna say a sci-fi thriller piece, sort of detective elements.
I
Mixed
call
in
it
there.
a futuristic science fiction body horror action comedy because it's an amalgamation of so many
Yeah.
things. Kind of like how it's an
So
amalgamation of RoboCop, Blade Runner, $6 Million Man,
and next
a little bit of some Cronenberg body horror.
So this movie follows Logan Marshall Green as he hunts down the person who killed his wife after he gets paralyzed in an accident, and he has to take some futuristic technology that has a risk to do so. What are your thoughts on this film?
Well, like I said, it's an amalgamation of so many genres, and for a while it focuses a little more on certain genre conventions than others to the point where it can be a little bit frustrating, but I think for the most part it really does work. This might actually be Marshall Green's best performance just based on the physicality and the wide range of emotions that he has to accomplish. So for those with a little bit more context, he's inserted this AI called STEM into his spine that does give him his ability to walk back, but he also has some martial arts skills that he has to gain permission to STEM to use in order to avenge his wife. And it makes him simultaneously hilarious and badass at the same time because he has to look incredibly confused when he realizes he can go Jackie Chan, not just that, go R-rated Jackie Chan on these guys' asses. And he can't believe himself as he's smacking people in the face with a plate or slitting their throats, just like, oh my God, what the fuck am I doing? And I just sat there, I'm like, how many weeks, how many months of rehearsals with your stunt work did you have to do in order to accomplish this? Because I can't imagine any other action star pulling this stuff off. And I really love the chemistry that he has between him and STEM. It was the most hilarious aspect of the movie and was surprisingly the most fleshed out relationship in the film. And I'm sure we're going to get to that
very
later on.
venomous with their relationship.
Yes, and I think Logan Marshall has a reputation of being a discount Tom Hardy because he's got the brown hair, the beard, the jacket.
Never thought of
except
that.
this time, Logan is intelligible. But anyways,
I like the one thing I really like about this movie is how small the cast is. I like that we have our main guy, his wife, we have STEM, we have our protagonist who sets the whole thing up. And then we have whoever he's in with the scene with, and it's usually only one or two unless he's in a large scene, and those are just crowd extras. I like how small and intimate this movie is. I like that we really get to focus on the character. We learn a lot about him. The relationship between him and STEM is very charming and funny, but also very dark. And I like that this movie has one specific goal and plot. It's point A to point B. And I think it's got a few really interesting twists along the way. I like the way it's shot. I like the cinematography. And I think Logan Marshall Green does a really, really good job.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the relationship between him and STEM goes about the same way any relationship between human and EI would go. Like he gets incredibly frustrated by how STEM is incredibly blunt, complicated, and very technical in the certain facts that they have to go through in order to avenge the wife because he's very hands-on and technophobic. He would much rather do things himself. And sure enough, he gets to do that, but he also has to learn to trust this thing because it's the only thing that can help him find all of these clues because it's more effective than any of the other humans. And weirdly enough, it's more empathetic than the other humans for reasons that we don't want to spoil because it's part of the twist. And I gotta say, even though there isn't as much action as I thought there was going to be, I think there's a good 20 minutes of Logan Marshall Green sitting in his wheelchair just moping about his dead wife, his loss of limbs and the fact that there was absolutely no progress. And I just sat there, I'm like, okay, here's the thing. I just sat for the invitation and I liked it. Why am I more bored out of my mind with this? You're just repeating the exact same scene like 3 or 4 times. Can we just get to the fucking fight? And
I watched this movie
swear,
first.
I swear the first fight in this movie doesn't happen until halfway through. And that part I thought was maybe a little too much focus on story, and maybe more time could have spent getting to the stylistic traits that are really the selling point of the film. But either way, Linnell really knows how to film action scenes on a budget. Even with the limitations, he still films the actors in steady wide shots, showing the choreography, showing that it is in fact him. But he copies this James Wan technique of directing action where it feels like the camera is attached to the main character. It's bobbing and zooming in alongside him as he's punching. And he even takes a method as cheap and lazy as quick cut rapid fire editing and actually making it add something to the fight scenes, because half of the fighters are cybernetically enhanced, so they move incredibly fast, and it feels like you need the rapid fire energy to really keep up with them, and it gives them the music video energy that so many action directors and editors try desperately to replicate, but they just completely fail to accomplish.
Plus, when they move the camera, whenever STEM is in control, the camera moves differently, and I love the way the camera moves. I love the way it feels like the background is moving on its own and he's moving, and to me that was such a fascinating effect. But I like the way this movie starts. I like that we don't get any action. I do think we could have spent about 5-10 minutes less with him and his wife. We get it. You love your wife.
I don't know. I
like the old fashioned start in the garage with the records and the engine, and you see no technology. And then you go outside and there's fast self-driving cars and everyone's got like computer implants and the whole city looks futuristic. I like the contrast because that's what this movie is portraying, the contrast between technology and no technology. And I love the way they build this world. This is a world building movie.
Yeah.
It builds a slow moving world, but for me, this is fascinating. Because world building is something that you can either do very wrong or very right. It's done very right in this movie, as in Lord of the Rings. It's done very right, but you can do it very wrong in a lot of films. And I don't think I have to have any specific example. There's going to be some movie where someone says, "I didn't. Why do we care about the world?" You know, you can picture that movie yourself. And I love the basic setup. It's very simple. He has to complete job A, and he needs his wife to help him out. They eventually meet a person of influence, and this is how the whole thing comes to be. And then they take a wrong turn home, and we get our inciting incident. And I think it's very interesting to see, because I think for me, the first little bit where he's struggling with the loss of his wife is the most impactful part of the film for me. I like where he's like, they're showing the robot arms, and like, I like that contrast of make me a smoothie or an energy shake or whatever it is, as opposed to administer pain medicine. Because I thought that was a very impactful scene. Like the contrast between those
that
two
scene was really
is incredible. And then you get him, and then that hooked me immediately. Like I like that. That's real human emotion. That's acting. This man is acting in this movie. Definitely his best acting performance for sure. I know. You probably prefer The Invitation, but this, like, oh my goodness.
No. I just said this was his best performance based on everything that he had to commit to in terms of physicality and wide range of emotions. You're absolutely right about that. And you are also right about the world building, because it looks
so good.
Really damn cool. The self-driving cars, the police drones that have this almost Orwellian sense of espionage and just general mistrust, and very indicative of the amount of crime that goes on in whatever city of whatever era this is, because they kind of leave that up to imagination.
It looks like San Francisco or New York set in like a futuristic timeline because of the bridge that they drive over.
It's some popular city, because I mean, where else would sci-fi movies in the future?
I think it's San Francisco based upon the bridge, but I love the city.
Or just the cybernetic enhancements on the bad guys. One guy literally loads bullets into his elbow and shoots them out of his arm. He can sneeze blades into someone else's nose. And I just sat there, I'm like, even though you guys are incredibly boring villains, you're very creative ones too. And I gotta really
they were boring villains, but I like that they had boring villains in this.
I wasn't a big fan of that, to be honest.
Because they weren't the villains. We won't explain what happens, but they weren't the necessarily they weren't the main bad guy. They were people fulfilling someone else's goal.
But here's the problem. They keep boasting about what their motives are and what their personalities are like. And if the end result is that there's more going on than just them, it felt like a complete buzzkill. It was kind of like Gary Busey in Lethal Weapon, where you build him up as a total badass, but dude doesn't have shit.
It's all about the bad guy from Lethal Weapon 2, diplomatic immunity. I love that guy.
It's just been revoked.
That's right. I don't when I watch Lethal Weapon, I don't really care about Gary Busey. It's all about the relationship between the two of Mel Gibson
and that
and Danny Glover.
That part held it together. It's just they spend so many scenes of just the villains, and I get that it's to establish information that Murtaugh and Riggs don't know in order for us to get more excited, but you need something to get excited about. And Busey wasn't even that good of a fighter to the point where there was so much choppy editing in that last fight where everyone just stares and watches. It's just like, hold the fucking camera still. I mean, it's no wonder Shane Black can direct action better than Richard Donner.
Shane Black is really good at action. I will say that in this movie, the four people who are part of the inciting incident, they do have a camaraderie ship, and I like that. I like that they all sort of have this.
I don't remember them spending like more than a minute or so together.
They spend a little bit of time together, but you can tell just the way they look at each other or the way they stop. It's not an immediate, we have to get the bad guy. It's, that was my friend. They have that facial acting, which is very, very good. Yeah. And I do believe that they were all comrades in the military, like they were talking about. And as I said, you serve your country and this is where you end up. And I do think that makes them a little bit soulless and makes them a little bit dry. And I understand why people wouldn't like that aspect of the film.
Yeah, it's just you wish you could feel their anger and frustration with maybe like at least 5 minutes more of those types of scenes, or even them like targeting members of authority who have it a lot better than they do, or
true.
Don't or have it less than they do, but they still are in higher positions of power, like a policeman who is fully human compared to them who have cybernetic enhancements, but they have to be like bottom of the barrel mercenaries or something like that, and or have to accept jobs from that one fucking dive bar, which that dive bar had one of the best bits in the whole movie where Marshall is pretending to be in the wheelchair. Then he gets up, tells the other guy in the wheelchair, hey, can you watch this for me? And without spoiling it, when the guy says, you faker, the end result was just fucking ridiculous.
That's great.
Was laughing so loud.
It's great. I do want to talk about the character. The one character I think that's the weakest in the film is the detective.
The cop? Yeah.
Betty Gabriel. I don't think we really needed her. Straight up. I think that she was just there to sort of have that authority level, sort of that 1984, like the government is watching you type of vibe over top of the film. That's what I thought. Like, she's not bad in the role by any means. She's not given a lot to work with.
Yeah, that's the big problem. I was looking for more of a cat and mouse dynamic between the two of them, where he's going to extreme measures, often against his own will, to avenge his wife, while she wants to do everything by the book and maintain this sense of optimism, compared to him being cynical and almost addicted to the level of power that Stem has. And you're right, Betty Gabriel's not bad in the movie. It's just Linnell didn't give her anything. I think the wife was the closest thing to a side character that you could really relate to, because even though they're not in it a ton, you still understand the dynamic of the relationship. He prefers to be a blue collar mechanic. She's a white collar corporate who can't get dirt on her shirt, but they still have great chemistry that lets you know they can disagree on things and still love each other. And that's a relationship that I really like to see in movies. But the tech mogul is a reclusive dweeb, and that's really all you get about him. Yeah. Like I said before, the soldiers think they're right, but are sadistic anyways. That's not really much else to it. I get that this is supposed to be a character piece of Logan Marshall Green, and he succeeds at that.
100% what it is.
There are extra scenes revolving around the side characters where they just don't pale in comparison. And that's just an inherent flaw with character study. It's just, you're throwing so many characters, and as the result, so many other actors under the bus when they should have better.
Yeah, it definitely is all about him. I for when I was watching this, I'm like, oh, it's RoboCop. You know, he's got his loving wife. Things are going to go bad, and he's going to need technology that they showed you previously in the film. And then I really thought it was Ex Machina near the end, and there's a lot of aspects of combinations of films there. But for
there's
me,
some 2001 and Terminator aspects that we don't want to spoil, but it's something we've seen in every sci-fi movie ever. And like, nobody was listening in the 80s. Nobody was listening in the 50s. They're sure shit not going to listen now.
Yeah, I was like, for me, I'm on the fence about this movie. Like, I enjoyed, there's some aspects I love about this movie. And then there's some things I'm just like, it could have been better.
Yeah, exactly. But in the grand scheme of things, I'm glad I saw it. I would say that The Invisible Man is still Winnell's best movie because it took more time to build up the suspense. It took more time to establish not just Elizabeth Moss, but the other characters who are trying to help her recover. Even though it involves the cliche where someone's maneuvering events to frame her and everyone instantly believes she's evil, I just sat there. I'm like, for fuck's sake, will you quit doing that? It's a movie. We don't come here to see people replicate real life. It's just like, oh, well, people like her get disregarded all the time. It's just like, there's this thing called Me Too where everyone believes everyone about everything. This metaphor doesn't work anymore, guys. I'm sorry.
No, it doesn't.
It's like, it's great that you're giving a movie about someone avenging their domestic abuse, and that was what I paid to see, and I got it, and I'm glad. It's just the middle is so exaggerated, and they spend so much time on wasted baggage, and not to mention it makes Elizabeth Moss seem a lot more self-pitying than she should have been.
I'm trying to remember who Elizabeth Moss is off the top of my head.
She's the girl from Mad Men and Handmaid's Tale.
Oh, her.
Yeah.
Okay, my brain was just like, no, I will figure out who she is.
And like, great actress, one of her best performances.
For me, this movie was the right length. I like the right length. I think you could have cut about 5 minutes. I like that it wasn't super long. I like that both these movies were not 2.5 hours. That makes it a lot easier to prep for the show. Straight up. Hour and a half. I got time for an hour and a half movie. I think the lead performance is very good. I do like the four and the way they relate to the film and such. I like their sort of dry delivery because they've been so soulless in what they've had to do. The cop didn't do a ton for me. I think the action was top notch. I think the violence was good at points, but then it was disappointing at others. I like the knife through the mouth. That's a really cool effect, but like the surgery.
I like when he used the shotgun against him. My mom was in the room and
on the head. Yeah,
that was really bad timing.
Yeah, I think the violence is very, very well done. They kept it to minimum. They knew what they had to do. I like that it's a low budget film. I think it's really, really cool. I give it a 3.5 out of 5. I just think you could have. I just think you could have cleaned it up and just tightened it up by about 5 minutes, and maybe removed one character.
You could have. They also could have spent like more scenes actually of him trying to solve what happened to his wife, as opposed to focusing a little bit more on the new abilities that he has.
True.
Which don't get me wrong,
3.5, but yeah, not a bad flick.
Yeah, that's the exact same grade I would give it. It's good, but it's not great. But it's a sign that Leigh Whannell is a sheer talent. And also, one minor thing: the AI of the movie actually says the intro credits, where it's just like, from this one studio, proudly presents Upgrade. And I'm just like, that is so fucking cool. I don't think I've ever seen anybody do that.
I was confused at first, but then by the end of the film, I understood why they did it. And I thought that's a very creative choice. I mean, literally the other film started with like a sideways 3D Microsoft logo. They're like, Gateway Films. And I'm like, what is this, 2000s on YouTube?
Hey, let's face it. We're going to have to do that once in a while.
Yeah, but let's not put a logo that ugly on screen.
Could have been worse.
It didn't fade in. It was just there. Like, you think it would fade in or be like with a little cool sound? No, it's just straight up there.
Hey, like I said, like we said, both these movies are on a budget, but they're the movies on budget often end up being better just because someone's allowed to do something with it.
Yeah,
I mean, as crappy as Blumhouse is, they let their directors do whatever the fuck they want.
What movies has Blumhouse done? I mean, they did Happy Death Day, which wasn't bad. Happy Death Day to You, I did not.
They do the Jordan Peele movies.
Get Out was good.
Whiplash. The Gift. I really like The Gift.
I haven't seen The Gift.
That's Joel Edgerton and Jason Bateman.
Okay. They did The Invisible Man. Freaky wasn't bad. It wasn't amazing, but it wasn't bad.
The only reason to watch it is Vince Vaughn.
They did that. I like Vince Vaughn, so yeah. They did a couple Purge movies. They did Split.
They did that stupid Ma with Octavia Spencer.
I haven't seen that. They did Split, which I liked a lot. I really enjoyed that. I know Yeah.
Oh, right, because they did The Visit with Shyamalan's found footage.
Yeah, the one I did not like Truth or Dare, and I really did not like Fantasy Island. I have words.
That's their
But
biggest. That's their biggest flaw. Letting Jeff Wadlow make movies.
oh man, there's so many twists and turns in that movie. It makes Shyamalan seem like a sane person,
Jeff Wadlow should not make a movie, guys. He really shouldn't.
and neither should McGee.
Honestly, I enjoy Charlie's Angels on a guilty pleasure level.
It's the most random thing I've ever seen in my life.
No, it's not.
I mean, I can't think of a more random film. Jeff Wadlow.
Well, let it come to you.
What else? What else has this guy made? Oh, he made Truth or Dare. Kick-Ass 2 was bad. Memoirs of it. Ooh. Oh, I understand what you're saying.
What?
Bates Motel. I didn't like it.
Oh, the show?
Yeah, I'm not a fan. Sorry, guys.
I mean, it is fan fiction, but
I don't really care that much. I'd rather watch Psycho 2. It's actually a pretty good flick. Well, there is one thing I want to chat about before we end the show. Leigh Whannell is directing. I saw this because I have the IMDb Pro thing. Something is in pre-production. Escape from New York. He's doing a reboot of Escape from New York, and you know what? I'm okay with that. He knows what he's doing. I'm okay with this. I feel like this is I always pronounce his name wrong. Denis Villeneuve, Arrival guy.
Denis Villeneuve
he's really good. Like I feel like this guy's on the level of him in a few movies.
Personally, but
I feel like Whannell here in 3 or 4 films will be regarded in that aspect.
I mean, time will tell. He's definitely maintaining his independence from James Wan now that they're both doing their own things. And now that they're doing more than just straight up horror, they're kind of mixing stuff in lately. Once you brought up Villeneuve, I'm just wondering, after Dune, where does his career go from there? Because Dune is fucking huge.
Dune, honestly, I've never been a huge sci-fi fan, but I like Arrival. And Blade Runner 2049 surprised me a lot more than I thought I would. Very well directed, very well made. I'm excited to see whatever this man wants to make. It's sort of like when Taika Waititi puts out a film. He just does him, and it works so well. So I just want them to make things. I don't know what it is, and I don't want to dictate it. What would I like to see Villeneuve do? Oh, I know what I'd like to see him do. Have him take over the Alien franchise.
I would love Villeneuve to make an Alien movie.
He could make
an actual Prometheus sequel.
Yeah,
because Alien Covenant was not a Prometheus sequel.
Yeah, he could make a Prometheus 2 and retcon all the Alien stuff and make a really great Alien film. Like seriously, I feel like the guy could do it. Like straight up in his sleep.
Yeah, and I'm not looking forward to Neil Blomkamp, assuming he's still trying to make an Alien sequel, because if he's been trying to make an Alien movie since before Covenant, but I think after people realize
Covenant.
After people realized that Elysium and Chappie, after they saw those movies and realized that District 9 was probably just dumb luck and Blomkamp probably sucks as a filmmaker, hopefully that's a sign.
Was he the same guy who made Chappie?
Yeah.
Oh.
Blomkamp sucks. I've never been the biggest fan of his.
Okay. That's
what did he do?
No. He's announced. I'm very curious here. He's announced to be the director of a Cleopatra reboot.
Wait, like the Elizabeth Taylor Cleopatra?
Yeah, Cleopatra.
Oh shit! Isn't that the one with Gal Gadot?
There's no one connected to the project yet. It's just been announced.
Gal Gadot is trying to make a Cleopatra movie, and everybody got pissed off, even though she's, last I checked, was the same ethnicity or something like that. Or
she's Egyptian or whatever.
She's Israeli or something.
Yeah, I don't know. She's yeah. No, it's Cleopatra. They announced this. It's got the writers Stacey Suroff and Brian Hegland. Stacey Suroff wrote the CBS Morning Show and The Little Prince. And Brian Hegland wrote A Knight's Tale, Man on Fire 42, and LA Confidential.
Wait, is that the morning show with Jennifer Aniston and Reese?
I have no clue. Let me just double check.
Because I mean, that's actually a decent show.
CBS This Morning.
Oh, that's not the same thing. Oh, look at that. Blomkamp actually made a supernatural horror movie. That might actually be a little bit more promising.
But I don't know. Cleopatra, we're just gonna have to wait and see, right?
I guess so.
And he made a Dune pilot as well. It's a TV show now.
Well, I knew that about Villeneuve. He wanted to do that from the start.
I mean, his resume though, with Enemies, Sicario, Prisoners, Blade Runner, and Arrival. I mean, you can't really argue with that. Straight up.
No. I love that a Canadian is one of the top filmmakers
Yeah.
in the world right now.
Like,
That's
I feel
just
like he's going to be regarded as like a Kubrick in about 20 years.
Oh, he absolutely will.
Yeah, he'll be that Kubrick type of director. And I hope that he only makes a certain amount of films and leaves his mark, unless they're all good. And that's okay too.
I hope Dune is at TIFF 2021 this year. I don't think it'll happen, but I would love if that were the case.
I mean, I don't know. It's supposed to come out this summer, right? What's the release?
I think it's
date
supposed to
on
come
this
out
stuff?
in October or something like that.
October. Okay, October 1st, 2021.
Is that what it says?
Yeah, I mean, the cast alone, like, I think Rebecca Ferguson's phenomenal. We got Zendaya in there, who's pretty good. Timothy Chalamet is fantastic, great actor.
I'm
Definitely.
really looking forward to seeing how Stellan Skarsgård and Dave Bautista bounce off of each other.
Then we got Oscar Isaac, Josh Brolin, Javier Bardem,
Jason Momoa. Wow.
Yeah, just a great cast there. I'm looking
Yeah.
most forward to see Rebecca Ferguson because everything she does is very, very interesting.
Absolutely. And after watching her in Doctor Sleep, where she just steals the fucking movie as the villain, because she was creepy, but she was also sympathetic. You can actually understand why she preyed on children. You didn't like it when she preyed on children, especially the excruciatingly long scene where she tortures Jacob Tremblay. That was something. But like, that proved to me that she had a ton of range, because before that I only saw her as Ilsa from Mission Impossible.
Yeah,
and she was great in that, but seeing her do something more menacing is just like, okay, she's got a lot more talent than I thought. She can go so many different places, and I'm looking forward to seeing her do that. I'm looking forward to Chalamet going in different places, because I don't think he's really reached that point yet. I like him a lot.
He's a very talented actor.
And I was at the grand premiere for Beautiful Boy, and man, he should have gotten nominated.
That is a tragic film. He acted his heart out in that film. Straight up. I know a couple people who told me they watched that film recently, and they're like, oh my goodness, I never want to see it again, but it was so good.
Yeah, I haven't seen it since the grand premiere, and I don't think I ever will. But...
Yeah, Steve Carell's excellent. I really liked her in Life. I know a lot of people didn't love Life, but I thought Life was a really interesting sci-fi film. Not perfect by any means, but very interesting to say the least.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it was really just alien, but yeah.
It absolutely was. I'm really hoping Batista does more than just be the brooding henchman that you would expect him to be, because as god-awful as Army of the Dead was, he was the most tolerable part of it. And it was an actual performance he was giving. He was playing an actual character.
But I understand why he did that movie. If you get the chance to get in with Netflix, Netflix will employ you forever. Get in with Netflix. It makes sense.
Yeah, but I mean, Netflix already showed his Guardians movies. They probably played My Spy on the network for at least a month or two.
I went directly to Prime, so...
Point is, streaming services already knew he was willing to do just about anything except a Fast and Furious movie for some reason.
Really? I feel like he'd fit right in. It would be effortless.
He says he only wants to do good movies, which high and mighty coming from a guy who did Escape Plan sequels.
Guardians 2 wasn't very good.
I thought it was.
I thought it had moments, but I thought it was bloated.
And honestly, I liked his thing between him and Mantis. That was
clever. But also,
that was for me the most
forgot about his dead wife immediately, and his character was completely different. It was like a different Dave Bautista, different Drax.
I don't know. Like before Army of the Dead, his best performance was Blade Runner 2049, and it's still my favorite performance, just because, I mean, he put Ryan Gosling through a fucking wall.
Mm-hmm. I do think that Dave Bautista in a lot of these movies works really well as a comedic, but I'd like to see him do something dramatic. I'd like to see him do anything dramatic. I don't know what that means or what he would do, but have him a full lead dramatic role would be very, very interesting.
Yeah, and you got that with Army, for the scenes that actually focused on that.
He was the only one who actually had like sort of a character arc. And I say sort of because
him and the daughter had an arc. And honestly, if they picked a slightly better actress, because Ella Parnell isn't necessarily bad, it's just they didn't give her a ton.
Yeah, I can't like
Except for
most
a
of the
bunch
people
of
in there, like
except for
those
a
are
bunch of
all talented
obvious
actors. They just literally had nothing to work with because it was all about coolness over actual characters.
Yeah, exactly. Like the dude that got sacrificed to the zombies. I like him as an actor, but dude does not pick good projects. I think Sons of
Yeah.
Anarchy and Luke Cage were the only things he was good in.
Well, I'm looking forward to what Dave Bautista has, and I think that Dune looks pretty cool. Because I'm straight up not a sci-fi guy, and I'm surprised I even enjoyed Upgrade that much because I don't like sci-fi. It's just not a thing I enjoy. I watch it though. I like Star Wars. I could really care less about Star Trek. I've watched enough of it.
You do realize Marvel movies are sci-fi, right?
I don't like most of the Marvel movies. I like some of them. I like probably about
That wasn't the impression I
40%.
got from the Marvel marathon we did.
Yeah, I like some of them a lot, but then some of them are not. I like aspects of the film, and I really try to like sci-fi because I really want to like the genre. It's like I really try to like rom-coms, and I really try to like every genre I don't like. I watch those movies so I can try to appreciate them, and then I
You
surprise
remind
myself.
me of my closest YouTube friend who doesn't do YouTube reviews anymore, but I saw his review of Invitation. I saw his review of Saint Maud, and I think you and him would agree on a lot of things.
I mean, I agree with myself sometimes. But yeah, I mean, but the best part about movie reviewing is we all have different opinions because we all like the same stuff. That'd be really boring. I appreciate the difference in opinions, and that's why I like the Josh and Tyler show because we talk about things and we have different opinions, and that's 100% the best part. If we all agreed, it'd be boring as shit. Who would watch that?
We all agreed in real life on everything. That would also be boring, and we also wouldn't know what good and bad were.
That's very true. But yeah, two very interesting films. I'm not mad that I watched either of these. Together they make a 5.5 out of 5, so I'll take it. So I think Logan Marshall Green is very talented, and I think he's got a cool future ahead of him. Very, very interesting projects he chooses. He's got a good agent. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Good stuff. Tyler, what do we got topping in on the channel this week?
Well, very soon you can find, I can't guarantee that it'll be this week just because of how fucking insane my schedule is, but I will have reviews up for the Korean action thriller Deliver Us from Evil. Look forward to that. And when I find time for it, I will also review a Chinese Netflix comedy called Super Me, which is about a guy who can take artifacts from his dreams, bring them into the real world, and I have absolutely no idea how, but it somehow comes with consequences. So look forward to those.
Yes, indeed. And check out all our stuff on Sharp Edge Cinematics. Check out my psychological horror film that you may or may not like. I did it for a friend that I've lost a while ago, and that was for him. And I'm very glad I made the film because we wrote it together. So he helped me with the idea, and I'm very glad it's out there. So check out Saving Grace, and check out all our shows, Community Cast, all that good stuff. We are ending Community Cast very soon and going to Archerverse, where we talk about season 1 of Archer, and then we'll be hopping back to Community. So lots of good stuff there. Thanks for joining us on the Josh and Tyler Show. And Tyler, you know what time it is. Say something freaking awesome.
I really hope that Dune shows up at TIFF 2021. It probably won't, but I hope so.
Me too. I'd like to see that on the big screen.
Yeah.
And not a drive-in. Bye.